And
So
Brian, it's worth clarifying. You're generally you're a Democrat and outspoken Democrat, so it's helpful
yeah,
for
yeah.
people to know that.
My ban was kind of unique. So they said that I was banned for buying my account, and Ed was too.
Okay.
We didn't actually buy our accounts though, and it would be interesting if you have actual documentation on this that you could go back and actually view. We contacted X or Twitter at the time through our legal team, which was just two lawyers that we hired, uh, and we considered suing Twitter for defamation because they put out a statement saying that we were buying interactions and faking our engagement. And when we contacted Twitter, they basically told us that they thought that we bought our account, and they made us sign like a non-disclosure agreement saying that we can't share anything, and which I have since, after you purchased the company, I was like, Elon's not going to sue me for this, but
No,
I have since.
definitely not.
I hope you don't, at least.
No, not at all. Of course.
So we did find out that they thought we actually purchased our accounts. We showed them the emails from 2010 from when we actually registered the accounts. But the reason they thought we purchased the accounts was because we had the accounts in 2010 and we changed the names a couple times to like various things that were totally off topic from what we eventually used them for, and before we changed them to our name currently. So they had reason to believe it wasn't worth a lawsuit because they deemed us public figures, and our lawyer tended to agree that we probably would be a public figure, and we'd have to prove malice. I don't think it was malicious, but yeah, I mean, I think Twitter was heavy-handed. I
Yeah.
disagree with them banning so many right-leaning accounts. Even though I disagree with those accounts, I'm happy that you took over and you straightened that out. Of course, I don't agree with everything everybody says, but I also don't think that a company should be the one deciding what's right to be posted and what's not.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. It's, I mean, the uh, this situation with X is often characterized as sort of a right wing takeover, but really I would characterize it as a moderate wing takeover, um, in that there's like to the best of my knowledge, no prominent say Democrat account or left leaning account has been suspended, or if there is, I'm happy to you know we're happy to fix that. But I don't think that's the case. Just that it's that we did not suspend voices on the right, and we allowed those accounts to come back on. So, but it's going to it will be seen as a move to the right because it was so far left. If you move to the center from the far left, it is, I guess, a move to the right, but it's really just a move to the center. At least that's the aspiration. Now I'll have my own views, which personal views on the subject, which I'll continue to speak my mind as I sort of see fit, independent of the platform. But the platform itself is intended to be fair and even-handed, and not biased towards any one account or any viewpoint.
Yeah, and I think personally for me, I think if you go back 5 or 6 years, I don't think I was entirely against Twitter banning some of the people I disagree with. And it wasn't until I was actually banned that I realized how stupid that was of me to think that. Because everybody thinks they're right and the other
Sure.
person is wrong. So
No,
I think
exactly.
that you need to put the shoe on the other, put the other person's shoes on your feet and try and walk in them for a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, free speech is only relevant when it's someone you don't like saying something you don't like. Uh, if because if that's you know that there's free speech if someone you don't like can say something you don't like. But if that's not the case, then it's really, I think, only a matter of time before that censorship apparatus is turned on you. Um, so that's that's why we want freedom of speech, but it's necessarily will mean that, like, you might really hate what someone you hate is saying, but that's how you have free speech. So well, let's see. Is there anything more that you'd like to say?
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to thank everybody. I think this is a really illuminating conversation. Mike, Benz, especially, like, man, you issued a clarion call for reforms on this stuff a long time ago, and have really been attacked by the legacy media. And so, just want to say, express gratitude for again being a voice in the wilderness on this stuff. Obviously, Elon, everything you've done to support the free, fair, and open marketplace of ideas, the innovations you brought. Kind of as a closing thought, we're about to enter an election cycle to the extent we haven't already. We are talking about elections. We're talking about election integrity. We're talking about political candidates. And when you see the type of viewpoint discrimination that you've uncovered through the Twitter files, or that certainly we feel like we put on as evidence based on the discovery we obtained in this lawsuit, where this isn't equitable. Like, it's not like everyone, all viewpoints are treated equal. The Biden administration clearly targeted anyone who dissented with their policy positions. And so the suppression of free speech was really targeted at core political speech, at least in the evidence that we've uncovered. What does this mean? It's dripping with irony that the same people who profess to want to promote truth against disinformation and misinformation and want to, protect democracy, would undermine our democratic process and suppress truthful speech. And this has never been about truth. It's always been about power. But what do you see as we move into an election cycle? Kind of as closing thoughts, as far as what's at stake in this fight for free speech as it relates to elections?
Yeah, well, I think it's essential to have free speech, in order, like, to know, well, who should you vote for? If what that person says is censored, or suppressed, then you don't know whether you should vote for one candidate or another. Um, so and I think it's, sometimes, like, there are people, and, like, I actually know a lot of people, and the FBI and Homeland Security and the State Department, and I don't think they were, like, bad people, actually, but it's just, you just can't have this government censorship apparatus exist at all. And I think, if and for those that are, like, that do want it to exist, they as Brian, alluded to mentioned earlier, it's like, you got to be prepared to have the shoe be on the other foot. Like, okay, so if there's suppression of people on the right, well, what happens? So, let's say, let's say, if Trump were to win in November, well, then he would have those same tools to use against the left. So, I think we want to just have those tools not exist.